So, y'all know Mark Andreessen, right? Y'all know Mark Andreessen, the Eggman, the man whose head is shaped like a huge egg, who, hilariously enough, uses Charlie Brown as his mascot on Twitter, and also has the suicidal penguin as his banner. And you know, I don't think the billionaires are all right, guys. I don't think they're doing okay. AI generated slop. There's something about this culture of young people coming up where they're not afraid of hard work. They're not afraid to pop a Zin and work at a factory all day. Mark Andreessen is a billionaire. Watching a billionaire be like, amen, I love when people work themselves to death in factories, is genuinely like some of the most unhinged shit, okay? And like, we're just taking a journey through his timeline here. He's talking about ratios and like, oh, the navel gazers must be distracted. He's specifically calling out the idea of introspection as a bad thing. The idea of self-critique to him is is worthless. And when you get into the head of a billionaire, that kind of makes a certain perverted sense, right? Like, if you're a billionaire, what need do you ever have to introspect, to think about others, to like pause before you make a decision? Because any of the business decisions you make, any of the day-to-day decisions that you make, don't really matter to your day-to-day existence. Also, again, I'm guessing a lot of folks don't really understand my reference to him being an Eggman. This is quite literally a picture of him for the New Yorker, and I'm not kidding. This is not photoshopped. This is real. Dude just has an actual, honest to God cone head. All right, and he has billions and billions of dollars. Just real, I guess I'll look up his net worth real quick. Net worth, Mark Andreessen. Yeah, he's worth $1.9 billion. But let's continue, okay?
Remember not to think about what you do, so you don't see how evil/stupid you are.
Yeah, if you never introspect, you never have to contend with what a piece of shit you are, you know? This is unfortunate, as we had our Are You LGBT founder test spun up and ready to go. Cool. Yeah, you wanted to know who was gay at your company, huh? Oh, built to deceive, how the effective altruist machine infiltrated the conservative right on AI. Which is like, how do I describe this in a nutshell? There is a movement in like the crypto investment world called effective altruism, which is this idea that you can amass great amounts of money by speculating on crypto, and then you can distribute the profits that you've made to others via charitable donations, and thus like do good in the world. You are effective at your altruism, in other words. And Mark Andreessen is going, uh-oh, because in the conception of this Jordan Schachel that he is, amplifying here, the effective altruists are effectively the liberal wing of this billionaire investor class. You know, like, yeah, it was Sam Bankman-Fried's plan, exactly. They, yes, most people rejected his message. Shut up. They hated Jesus because he had told them the truth. Also, I'm sorry, is this an AI enhanced version of this meme? And it's Mark severely underestimates the amount of time Alexander the Great spent reflecting on his conquests. Who gives a fuck? Is he saying he's Jesus? No, this was a common meme from like 15 years ago. Look, I'm just saying if I, Marcus Aurelius, and Elisha D. Long agree on something, you can assume it's correct. Yeah, words to live by. Not Arsler if your brain is bigger than your balls. Cool stuff. Again, this is all of these tweets are from today, guys. All of these tweets are from today. He's just been posting non-stop. And this is like what he's spending his time reading. Be arslurred to win at life. Fuck the science, fuck the facts. Arsler Max. It's really stupid. Like, guys, when we talk about AI cooking people's brains, we're talking about people like Mark Andreessen. These people are stupid as fuck, they're self-obsessed, and they're incapable of introspecting because they've replaced their ability to self-critique with a sycophantic machine that just sucks their dick all day. That's it. And to be clear, rich people in the past were similarly out of touch. It's just that they lacked like a machine that expedited the process of becoming out of touch. That's what's happening right now with the wealthiest people that exist on our planet, right? I mean, like, dude, he's literally saying current status Arsler maxing. Like, it's insane. A lot of people are getting one-shotted by the concept of one-shotting. What does that mean? This guy is just like fucking like subtweeting niche communities for some reason. He has like millions of followers. Marcus Aurelius, to stop talking about what the good man is like and just be one. Software isn't merely technical work anymore, it's creative. Introducing Replit Agent 4, the first AI built for creative collaboration between humans and agents. These people just keep stacking AI agents one on top of the other in a trench coat and begging people to find utility in them. It's crazy to me. Never let someone tell you that billionaires have like are working, 100 or 1,000 times more efficiently than everyone else. This guy's literally, we haven't even finished with all of the tweets he made today. To be fair, old aristocracy didn't have a way to broadcast their insanity to the world near instantaneously, which probably helped their public image. Well, yeah, but also they were aware that they came across as out of touch and assholes, which is why they had a sense of noblesse oblige, like a sense of like you need to give back to your community, to the people. You need to build works that benefit them, because otherwise they're going to grab their pitchforks and torches and come to your manor home. Like, there was this idea that there was a give and take, even going back into like the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. Yeah, I know Dark Ages is outdated terminology, but like, if you did not adequately have a back and forth with your peasantry, they would just show up and kill you. Okay? I'm getting tons of positive messages from the anti-introspection crowd. Thank you all. Steve Jobs wasn't introspective. Look at all of my rich asshole billionaire friends who refuse to introspect. It shows how in touch I am with the people. Peter Thiel on how the psychedelics revolution changed introspection. Like, all these rich assholes are just going on fucking drug trips and then broadcasting their psychosis to the world. It's insane. Full 40 minutes of Nick Shirley exposing California fraud. Thanks, Mark Andreessen, for amplifying that. We certainly wouldn't have been able to figure anything out about fraud in California without hit journalist Nick Shirley on the case. God. Oh, is it he? I'm sorry. He's literally still doing the same thing.
This is the sound of hospice money. Could you just answer the question, what's the need for 1,000% increase in hospice care here inside of LA?
The elderly. The elderly are dying.
You have the paperwork to enroll a little boy by the name of Joey?
You don't know what's going on.
Well, it says there's 14 children enrolled here.
He's literally just going around the country doing the exact same shit of harassing daycares. Why won't you let me see the children, Nick Shirley says. And Mark Andreessen is so cooked in the brain that he fucking falls for it hook, line, and sinker. Okay? AI is making CEOs delusional. Of course, the other possibility is that AI is spiking the individual's productivity to the moon, and they're right. On the one hand, CEOs are getting more and more out of touch and like more and more insane. On the other hand, have you considered that their insanity is making them more productive? I just want you to reckon for a moment with how cooked this man's brain is. How does he do it?
Okay, so. The internet is gonna end us. Who knew computers would invent us?
It's so dog shit. It's so dog shit. All they want is like generated boobs. And they're like, how does he do it? It's incredible. Oh my god, this is the future. And it's just like, you're sharing one of the most insufferable things I've ever seen. And we only played 17 seconds of it. Every Apple product I've ever owned, I wish it had more buttons. Okay, also, we finally made it to yesterday. And at this point, I just have to like keep scrolling because I'm looking for a very specific post that kicked all of this off. And I'm not finding it. I'm just finding intense AI psychosis. I mean, like, come on, dude. This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Famous computer. But computer isn't everything.
I'm sorry, that's the best thing you've ever seen in your life? This is the best thing you have ever seen in your life. Yeah, this is your brain on AI, exactly. Again, the billionaire class is being cooked alive. Their brains are dying in real time, and they can't even be aware of it because, frankly, like, none of them have any desire or ability to realize it's happening to them. They're all fucking frogs in a boiling pot of water. Yeah, here is the clip I was looking for. This is from, I think, from his own show.
You don't have any levels of introspection.
Yes, zero, as little as possible.
Why?
Move forward, go. Yeah, I don't know. I found people who dwell in the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work and it's a problem at home.
So I've read obviously 400, and I think now 10 biographies of history's greatest entrepreneurs,
Yep.
and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection.
Yep.
Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his internal self. He just woke up. He's like, I like building Walmart. I'm going to keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts, and just kept doing it over and over again.
And you probably know if you go back, like, 400 years ago, it never would have occurred to anybody to be introspective. Like, it's the whole idea of, I mean, it just.
I hate this. Yeah, you go back 400 years ago, no one ever would have thought to be introspective. No, absolutely not. One of the things that bothers me about stuff like this is when guys like this say this, they have no idea what they're talking about. You can see them show their entire ass. All right? Like, the idea of people being fundamentally flawed and thus they must continue and seek to improve. That's like built into a ton of different religious beliefs that have roots going back thousands of years. You got fucking Aristotelian virtue ethics out there being like, yeah, you must always seek to cultivate yourself and cultivate your abilities and your virtues, you know? Like that is the path to happiness. You got Buddhism growing beyond, your base desires and seeking to improve one's inner life. Like, this is an insane thing to say. And it can only come out of an extraordinary place of disdain. Disdain for working class people, because he's talking about people in general just 400 years ago just wouldn't have had an idea of improving oneself. They wouldn't have an idea of, thinking about their internal lives, as if people 400 years ago just didn't think about themselves or think about what they wanted, or didn't live lives just as rich and just as colorful and just as interesting as the lives you and I live. You might have been, locked down in your town or village, and fairly few of you would go abroad, but there was still a life there. There was still ideas. There were still people talking about new information. It was not just this static, boring, base animal activity. They weren't just living to toil and then die. Although Mark Andreessen loves the idea of Zoomers existing to just toil and die in factories, as he showed us earlier today. But he genuinely thinks that all of the people below him have essentially misplaced their idea of self. And instead of acting on impulse and acting on inertia, they are now acting from a place of considering themselves, from a place of self-interest. And what he's talking about here, when he specifically lists 400 years ago, what he's talking about is very specifically the Enlightenment, which was roughly 400 years ago, right? He's talking about a rejection of Enlightenment values and ideas. And kind of the heart of where the idea of liberalism, not in the modern American liberal moniker, but the broader liberalism of, from which emerges the French Revolution and the American Revolution, and this idea of individualism. It's where all of this, and freedom as a sacrosanct idea, and the Enlightenment is where all of that comes from. And Mark Andreessen rejects Enlightenment values because he's a fascist. And again, one of the key cornerstones of fascism is a lack of introspection and a rejection of Enlightenment values, a rejection of freedom and individualism, a rejection of these core components of what makes us today as a society, And this is both incredibly stupid and anti-empiricist. It is, again, a lot of the different things that I've been talking about. And I do encourage everyone to go watch my video where I read through Fascism by Umberto Eco, where he goes into detail on the 14 points of fascism, the hallmarks of fascist ideology. And a bunch of them you can see at play here, and at play on Mark Andreessen's Twitter. He's just stream of consciousness posting this shit, dehumanizing various different groups of people, denouncing the idea of knowing oneself, and instead saying, just do. Don't think about anything, just do it. Because these are the ideas that make it easy for folks like Mark Andreessen to control those who have less power. It's what fuels the death cult mentality of fascism, right? And we aren't even finished with this yet.
All of the modern conceptions around introspection and therapy and all the things that kind of result from that are, kind of manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
Say more about that.
Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff.
Also, the idea that great men of history are what move history forward is just wrong. Source, I studied history, I minored in history, and the idea that the great men are what move the cogs of history. This is all just bullshit. This is all just bullshit, largely fabricated to flatter white supremacist thinking and, frankly, fascist thinking as well. The idea that you simply need one great man to arise with the will to power, an Ubermensch to grab the reins of history.
prior point, right? It's all a new construct. It was well, so first Western civilization had to kind of invent the concept of the individual, right, which was like a new concept, several hundred years ago, and then
Well, no, the concept of individuals is not a new concept. It's a pretty accessible concept. When he's talking about the concept, the modern conception of the individual, what he's talking about is very specifically, the concept of individual rights. Individual rights. Does this egghead think that he's the Ubermensch? I mean, yeah, people like him.
And then, for a long time, it was, all right, the individual runs, right? And like does all these things and builds things and, builds empires and builds companies and builds technology, does all these things. And then, kind of this.
Hey, Two Spectral Wolves, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Very much appreciated.
Kind of guilt-based whammy, kind of showed up from Europe. A lot of it from Vienna, 1910s, 1920s, Freud, and all that entire movement, and kind of turned all that inward and basically said, okay, now we need to basically second guess the individual. We need to criticize the individual.
Well, I don't think that Freud invented the idea of engaging with your internal life. Do I have the video sped up? No. The video itself might be sped up by whoever uploaded this clip, but we can actually check it out on the full podcast here. Let's
You're whatever, Paul Newman, and you've got some agent you've been working with for 20 years, and your agent calls you at 11 o'clock, and it's like, I've got this great role, and you say, oh, the guys at CA called me.
No, this is just genuinely how he sounds. That's crazy. That is okay. Freud got a lot of things wrong about psychology, but one of the interesting bits is that, there's the fundamental idea that we should seek to understand the internal world that people exist in. And that, I think, applying the scientific method, applying different theories and testing them out in an effort to understand and, pathologize the way people think, I think that's really cool and interesting. But this guy's over here literally being like, no. Look, you just need to stop being depressed. Stop thinking about yourself and just do things. And it's like, that's not how depression works. That's not how schizophrenia works. That's not how any of these things work. Majority Report was speculating he was snorting Adderall. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising. He's been posting a lot about Peter Thiel and psychedelics. These guys are all hopped up on shit, It would not be surprising to me at all if he snorted Adderall before going on this podcast. Two Spectral Wolves, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Very much appreciate the support. Thank you for making the show possible. Let's finish this up.
Self-criticize. Right. The individual needs to feel guilt, needs to look backwards, needs to, dwell on the past.
That's not what therapy is. Or what psychology is. Therapy and psychology are an effort to understand why you have certain thought patterns, why you do certain things and feel certain ways, and through understanding, be better able to cope and address those issues and flaws. It allows you to break behavior patterns and break cycles of thought. It allows you to recognize, for example, when your brain is spinning up a panic attack. It allows you to recognize patterns of depressive thought and break those patterns before it gets too overpowering. It provides you with tools to help yourself. And the idea that, you just deny yourself tools and you'll get better, Fivehead, that's not how human beings work, actually. And it's deeply frustrating, but I think more than anything, I think stuff like this demonstrates that billionaires are just fundamentally out of touch with humanity. These people should not be allowed to amass this much power, not the least because, like, it's unhealthy for an economy, it's unhealthy for the nation as, like, a political matter, but also because it is unhealthy for these people to be so, like, severed from reality, to be so severed from the day-to-day activity of living life that they become, out of necessity, destroyed. Like, their humanity is fundamentally alienated from that of the rest of humanity. And they explain that by saying, well, I'm alienated because I am exceptional. I am alienated because I was born to lead. I am alienated because I am one of the great men of history. And they never stop to imagine that it is by virtue of the immense and overwhelming power that they possess that they are so isolated. That in a world driven by capitalism, where amassing that amount of wealth is the amassing of capital, the thing that can determine whether or not people live or die in a system where death and suffering is the expected reward for those who are unable to be productive within it, they have been completely disconnected from how everyone else lives. And I think that that is something to understand about how billionaires exist. And quite simply, we should organize to make sure no one can be this alienated from their fellow man. So, all that being said, folks, we need to organize so that these billionaires can't just roll into your community and do whatever the fuck they want with it. Like, having $1.9 billion essentially means that this guy can roll into any community in the country and do whatever he wants in it with no consequences whatsoever. He could fucking roll into town with a cartoon bomb the size of City Hall and just explode it and completely get away with it. No consequences, because that is what the level of wealth that he has allows him to do, right? And I think that we need to organize against this to prevent people like this from doing what they want to do, something that has deleterious effects for everybody. I'm thinking here of, I almost said Bill Clinton, the guy who's the head of Microsoft, Bill Gates. Bill Gates went around the country with a program in an effort to reshape education in schools across the entire country, offering huge grants to schools that changed their entire curriculums to meet what Bill Gates thought would be a more optimal way to teach children. And guess what? It failed. Those schools got money for sure, but those kids did not become more educated as a result. In fact, they became less educated because the program that Bill Gates sought to install into schools was basically worthless. And Bill Gates, by virtue of having all of the money he has, was able to twist and contort the education system of the entire country as a result of this. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that they are already doing stuff like this. I use the cartoon bomb analogy just, to make it easier to imagine in your head. But like, this is happening all the time in 100 different ways. And we need to organize to prevent them from being able to abuse you, to prevent them from being able to abuse your children, to protect them from being able to protect us from being able to be exploited. We need that protection. And the only protection we have is not billions of dollars. It is one another. It is organizing, and it is showing up on the local level, on the state level, on the national level. We need to show up on all levels and make sure anyone who is on a billionaire's payroll is no longer welcome in our political spaces. Okay? We have to build the community. We have to get to work. So folks, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. Let's do a pirate takeover of our Democratic parties. There is no reason we should sit idly by while billionaires seize control of the major political apparatuses available to us. So join your local Dems, make them more progressive. Find like-minded folks to join with you. Join your local DSA. Make it more effective. Do both if you can. But folks, we need people showing up. We need people showing up. And I've seen from multiple people just today alone that they showed up and within relatively short amount of time were given the ability to be delegates. We're given real political power in their local communities. It just takes you showing up. If you need help starting on that journey, join our Discord, reach out to Gamergy for help with your local DSA, reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems. Both have been organizers for a long time and can give you great advice on how to approach your local Dems, how to approach your local DSA. And I will also say, if you can't join the Discord for whatever reason, head over to riverboat.gg during the shows that I do. They're usually in chat to help you out if you are interested in that. So all that being said, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words long really help in the algorithm for whatever reason. And please consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, super chats, etc. You guys make this show possible, not billionaires secretly backing my my show. So last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It looks great on everybody. It fits well, and it's sexy. So check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com. Link down below in the description. And let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.